He asked, question, why is it that there are no secular converts to creationism? If the evidence was so strong, you'd think it would be widespread.
Well, I'll come into that one first. In reality, Ravi, that's an innocently ignorant statement, because one of the guys who I know has rejected evolutionism has done so because he could see the moral implications on his kids, and he even wrote a book on the evidence for rejecting evolution. And the one reason he didn't want to swap over to creation was not simply that there was no evidence. He would have been the first to admit that the evidence was really pointing in that direction. But his statement to me was that he really did not want a God who was going to be over him. So he could see the evidence of creation. He wanted to retain his autonomy as an independent person. He did not want somebody higher than him, but neither could he accept evolution, because he could see the moral decadence that came to society because of evolution. And we don't need to go there at the moment, but you are quite wrong. There's an awful lot of people who are secularists. In fact, my experience in university, and Glenn, you might want to comment on this, is that there are very few vocal evolutionists at the top. There are an awful lot of scientists who don't have an opinion because it would hinder their career, etc. And then there's quite a lot, like the scientists I was talking about, who actually can see the evidence of creation, actually admit that it's logical and convincing, but they have a moral or philosophical reason for not wanting to go there. Glenn, have you got any comments?
Just the majority of the scientists that I know, they accept evolution as true because they've never given it any thought. It really doesn't pertain to most areas of science. It doesn't pertain to my area of science. So they just assume, well, it must be true because I was told it was true and I was taught that since I was a little kid. But they've never looked into, well, what is the evidence for evolution, or what is the evidence for creation? And many of the ones that I know would consider themselves Christians. They go to church, but they never even give it any thought about creation or evolution. It doesn't impact them, doesn't affect them. But I took the question as, why are there no converts? And yet you just heard from one. John, I've heard you tell us before that you were an atheist, and now you're one of the founders of the modern creation movement.
Same here. Well, I'm not the founder of the modern creationist movement, but I was an atheist, and a very sort of vehement one at that. Before I converted to, obviously, well, came and saw the light, and thanks to John as well, all those years ago.
Just one comment. Back on the word atheist, I just didn't believe in a God who was over me, right? So the slight difference there. Basically, it was the university evidence against evolution that our professors kept talking about that pushed me in the direction of creation. So I had a good comment there, Glenn. Having looked at Johnson and many of the others who are well known as converts, you need to modify your statement.
Yes, there are quite a few scientists who reject evolution but don't want to embrace creation, because they understand that if you embrace creation, that means there has to be a creator. And that's what they're really running away from. They're not running away from the whole idea of design or evidence for creation. They're running away from the possibility of a creator. But there are quite a number who actually reject evolution.